Skylar Annette Neese was raised in the vicinity of Morgantown, West Virginia. She was a cheerful and smart high school student who worked part-time at Wendy's. Her closest friends were Shelia Eddy and Rachel Shoaf, and she and Shelia had been close since second grade. When they got to high school, they met Rachel, a former Catholic school student. As the saying goes, three's a crowd. Rachel and Shelia became closer, which made Skylar feel excluded. Rumors circulated about a secret romantic relationship between Rachel and Shelia, and Skylar had witnessed them getting intimate during a drunken sleepover. Fearing that Skylar might expose their secret, Rachel and Shelia decided that Skylar needed to be eliminated. They initiated a plan to carry out this horrifying act just before Rachel's departure for church camp in July. On the night of July 5, 2012, Skylar came back home from her Wendy's job at around 10 p.m. She greeted her parents and retired to her bedroom. Later that night, she sneaked out through her bedroom window to meet her best friend Shelia. Skylar's plan was to spend the evening joyriding and smoking pot with Shelia and Rachel, something they had done before. However, she had no clue about the dark intentions her trusted friends had for her that night. The trio drove about 30 miles to a quiet, narrow road in the woods, just across the state border in Pennsylvania. They were familiar with this spot, as they often came here to relax and smoke marijuana. After a brief walk into the woods, they deceived Skylar, telling her they had forgotten a lighter. When Skylar turned to head back to the car, Shelia and Rachel, who had knives hidden under their shirts, counted to 3 and brutally stabbed her. Skylar put up a fight, even managing to briefly wrestle the knife away from Rachel and injure her. However, the two girls eventually overpowered her, leading to her tragic death in the woods. They wanted to bury Skylar, but couldn't because the ground was too hard. Instead, they covered her with sticks and rocks near a big tree. They remained free for 6 months, staying active on social media and insisting on their innocence. The day after the murder, Skylar's father came home and noticed the bench she had left outside her bedroom after sneaking out the previous night. He contacted Shelia to check if the girls had gone out together. Shelia initially claimed they hadn't, but later admitted they had snuck out. She said that she had picked up Skylar at around 11 and dropped her off near her apartment about an hour later. Later that day, when Skylar failed to show up for work, her worried parents reported her missing to the police. In Skylar's apartment building, there was a security camera that captured a blurry image of Skylar sneaking out of her bedroom and entering a silver car. Since she left without notice, the police didn't issue an Amber Alert. Instead, they advised her parents that Skylar might have left voluntarily and could return in a few days. The day after the murder, Rachel went boating with her mother and godmother, and both of them remember noticing a cut on her knee that day. The following morning, she left for church camp and was away for 2 weeks. A few days after Skylar went missing, the police interviewed Shelia. The detective observed that she appeared emotionless and noted that she drove a silver car. Despite these indications pointing to Rachel and Shelia's involvement, they remained free for the entire year. As time passed, investigators discovered lies in Rachel and Shelia's accounts and began to doubt the accuracy of their timeline. Suspicion grew in Morgantown, with many believing that they weren't telling the whole truth. They frequently teased the girls on social media, where both remained active. In December, Skylar's mother publicly appealed to Rachel and Shelia through a Facebook post to cooperate with investigators. Under the mounting pressure of the investigation and the burden of guilt, Rachel eventually admitted to the murder of Skylar on January 3rd. She then guided investigators to Skylar's remains on January 16th. Skylar's remains were so badly decomposed that it took until March 13th to identify them. Despite confessing to the murder, Rachel stayed free for 4 additional months. During this time, she cooperated with the police, wearing a wire to record her conversations with Shelia. Shelia was arrested on May 1, 2013, and initially pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder. However, as her trial neared, and with the prospect of Rachel's testimony, she changed her plea to guilty. She received a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 15 years.
Shelia Eddy, how do you plead to the offense of murder in the first degree of the felony charged in count 3 of the indictment in this case?
Guilty.
The record will reflect that the defendant has entered a plea of guilty to the offense of murder in the first degree, the felony charged in count 3 of the indictment in this case. You may be seated. Watch the chair, please.
Rachel pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, and she received a 30-year prison sentence with the possibility of parole after 10 years.